Hello, Professor and classmates. My name is Carla Chiapo, and I am part of Team 2. I am going to be presenting the first part of our project. Um, then my wonderful colleague, Prashel Cameron, will be taking over halfway. We are doing this on behalf of team number 2, which consists of Prashel Cameron, Vicky Chang, Alexia Cortez, Luz Cabides, Magali De Salome, and myself. We are going to be doing a diversity audit on Google. So, just a quick introduction. As consultants and auditors, we were tasked with determining the following at Google. What are they doing to increase the understanding of similarities and differences with gender and race equality in terms of leadership and tech roles? Pay practices and attrition rates. How does Google create an inclusive environment? What are they doing to improve communication and teamwork against their diverse employees? So, a little bit about Google. What is Google? Google is an American multinational technology company. They specialize in internet-related services and products, which include online advertising technologies, a search engine, cloud computing software, and hardware. Demographics. The technology company currently employs over 100,000 employees in 170 different cities that span over 60 countries. Google actually says that they're committed to continuing to make diversity, equity, and inclusion part of everything they do, from how they build their products to how they build their workforce. It's built for everyone. Some products are accessible in more than 100 languages and are used by billions of people who come to Google for knowledge, information, inspiration, and entertainment. And to be honest with you guys, who hasn't heard of Google? They really do have a strong presence worldwide. So, what is a diversity audit and what does it consist of? A process to generate equity, diversity, and inclusion within an organization. It gives you a perspective of how inclusive a workforce is and how it can improve by forming a diverse workplace. The audit can include diagnostics, surveys, assessments, and analysis from research. So why is it important? Why is it important of having organizational audits? First, to inspire. This is to inspire workers, the community, and improve overall loyalty as well as nurture a culture for inclusiveness within the organization. To inform about diversity and inclusion opportunities, to obtain and release unbiased data on how well or bad an organization is performing. It provides an insight on how specific groups of employees are feeling and overall achieving within. Also, is to improve satisfaction of shareholders and stakeholders. By conducting an audit alone, it increases satisfaction within the shareholders, especially when senior leadership is involved. I strongly believe that change, right, happens from all sides of the company, but especially senior leaderships because they oversee hiring among other processes within a company. Also, to cultivate an inclusive culture puts the employees first as a priority, which leads to higher retention rates than the average. Therefore, the company is set apart from the competitors. Also, we took the liberty of including the diversity and inclusion report that you guys can actually click on the PowerPoint, and you will be able to get more details and, of course, to follow along the remaining of the presentation. I do want to bring to you guys' attention just a little snippet of what Google is saying in this report. As you can see here, they're saying diverse leadership teams make better decisions and in turn build a more helpful Google for everyone. So you can see right there that they do appreciate a diverse working force, which is key. Diversity management. So it starts with top leadership, as I was stating. It starts from the CEO all the way to customer facing employees. Everybody has to be part of this. It is a key to grow as a company. It helps with global relevance, especially if the company wants to expand to different markets. It is not about hitting target numbers, but how employees are treated. Diversity is mainly focused on talent, and therefore, it's going to boost revenue and efficacy across working units. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Prashel. Prashel?
Thank you, Carla. Hey, everyone. I will start off by speaking about how we conducted the audit. We chose to look at Google's previous diversity reports from 2018 and 2019 and compared them to the latest report published in 2020. We wanted to understand the differences as it relates to gender, race, and ethnicity in terms of leadership and tech roles, pay practices, and the attribution rates at Google. For the findings and results, we found that Google's diversity report showed little progress for women and people of color compared to their findings from 2018 and 2019. The report revealed modest gains in representation for women and people of color and a disproportionately white, Asian, and male workforce. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission enforces laws about discrimination in the workplace by including all races and genders. The article that we looked at mentioned bias in the hiring process and how female applicants keep decreasing when the job qualification summary is more than 54 words. After Google modified it, there was an 11% increase in women applying for jobs. The importance of inclusion is to make everyone feel cared about and included in their roles. Every employee gets the same core learning and training opportunities. Findings and results for leadership representation bias. The graphs illustrate the last 3 years of Google's hiring practice in which they seem to have been favoring men, of course, over women. Women make up 30% of the workforce but are still less represented in both leadership and tech roles. Recently, a DOL audit found preliminary evidence of biased practice over women at Google. And as of February of 2021, Google will have to pay a total of $3.8 million to workers over claims its hiring and paid practice were biases against women and Asians. In which case, 1.2 million of that are to be set aside for 1,757 women applicants for software engineering positions who were not hired. After facing the multiple allegations of racial and gender bias, Google has vowed to review their past hiring practices and conduct a gender pay equity study to improve their company and their gender discriminations allegations by 30% within the upcoming 5 years. Let's look at the tech roles. The percentage of black hires in technical roles also grew by 0.7%, the largest increase in the share of black technical hires since Google first started publishing diversity data. The percentage of Latin employees in technical roles increased by a mere 0.2%. Female employees didn't fare much better in tech roles. Though they went from 30.9% of global hires in 2018 to 32% in 2020, over that same time period, the percentage of women hired for technical positions remained at about 25.6%. Let's talk about the pay discrepancies. Women at Google make $11,500 less than their male counterparts. Men were offered higher salaries than women were for the same exact role 63% of the time. Women of color faced the biggest wage gap when compared to white men, in which black women earned 65% of what white men do. Looking at the attrition data for 2020, we can see that women continue to have lower than average attrition rates overall. Latin moved below the Google average, and Native American and Black women increased above average in 2019. Looking at Google's attrition rates by race and ethnicity from 2018 and 2019 indicates that they have some key areas they need to focus on. Here we have the findings and results for a gender and race report in 2020. These trends highlight that the need for continued learning and innovating as Google builds and supports communities across their company is definitely necessary. Actual observations. Between 2019 and 2020, Google expanded its retention equity program to cover more underrepresented groups and more regions. Google created teams that work one-on-one with employees cohorts whose attrition rates are above average. Through a mix of coaching, connecting individuals with mentors and sponsors, locating internal mobility opportunities, and providing emotional support, they retained 84% of employees who went through the program. Google also outlined a set of promises to improve the company's racial equity and inclusion, which will include training on racial consciousness for all employees and boosting diversity among leadership. Okay, let's talk about Google's grade. We determined Google should receive a B+ grade for their diversity and inclusiveness effort. Compared to Bing and Yahoo, Google has made it a point to invest in diversity programs. Internally, the company has launched smaller initiatives such as running all job postings through a bias removal tool, and in an effort to retain diverse talent, Google expanded its retention case management program for underrepresented employees who are considering leaving the company. The company concedes that there is considerable room for improvement, and based on our findings and results, we definitely agree. In conclusion, Google admits it has work to do to increase underrepresented talent in its workforce, which is why it's also collecting race and ethnicity data worldwide through a voluntary self-ID campaign review of job descriptions. But Google is moving forward on its 2020 diversity goals and will continue to focus on representation and creating an inclusive culture company-wide. They're focused on building a workforce that better represents the users and the world. Valuing diversity and inclusion is great, but sometimes it is not enough. Employees need to feel included within the company and to be part of the vision and mission of the company. So we're looking forward to see what progress, if any, Google makes over the next year in terms of diversity and inclusion, and hopefully their success is reflected in their 2021 diversity report. This concludes our presentation. Thank you.